Hello friends, welcome to the today's video. Today we're going to configure a primary domain controller server. Okay. So far we have gone through like how to download an ISO, how to create a VM in Hyper-V. So this is done, right? So now we're going to configure a AD server. Okay. So let me quickly go through a Hyper-V. So this is our Hyper-V, and we do have a server, AD server we have installed, but we haven't configured anything on this, right? Okay. So I quickly show you the IP for this. It's 192.168.1.9, and this is nothing but an IPv6. Okay. So in order to configure a Active Directory, there are the pre-checks what you require. We'll quickly go through. Okay. Yes. These are the pre-checks. We should make sure that so we require a VM with a Windows Server OS. So we already have a server. Windows Server 2022 is there, right? The first one is okay for us. Assign a standard host name. So far if you see, so this is nothing but a VM label name. Okay. But where you can see the host name is residing on the server. Okay. Let me connect to the server and I'll show you the host name. So currently we are using the local administrator only, which we created at the time of installation. You see the name, the remote computer name is displaying, right? This is the default name that is taking while installing the OS. Okay. So we need to configure such a way that by looking at the name, we can able to identify whether it is a Windows, which mission, Active Directory or a client mission or some other file server. Okay. So how do you rename that? So let's follow the steps. So just right click on the computer, go to properties. There you can see the option under the about, there you can see the rename option is there, right? So here you can specify the name. So I would like to configure it as a AD server. Or else let's put it domain specific JC ready AD. Just click next. So make sure that once you while entering the name, it should not exceed more than 16 characters. If you give more than 16 characters, that will take, but end of the day, when you entering like joining it your domain and all these things, so that will take only the 16 characters. After that, whatever will be there, that will not be visible for us. Okay. So it's better always to select the host name such a way that that should be easy for us to understand, and that should be less than 16 characters. Okay. So let's restart this mission now. It's a plan, right? So just select plan. Yeah, we'll be restarting. Even in console level, I can see. Okay. So now we have successfully done the second step. We have saying that JC ready AD is the host name for this VM. And now the third step would be assign a static IP address. Earlier we got the IP address 192.168.1.6 from the router, even that is there in the ncpa.cpl, right? So we haven't configured any DNS, but as it is an AD server, this is the primary domain controller that we are creating on this forest, right? So that is the reason we'll call it as a PDC or a root domain controller. So the root domain controller should have a DNS as a AD server. Okay. So yeah, let me log into a server so that I'll explain you in detail. So now the host name is changed. It should reflect while taking the RDP. Yeah, here you can see the name is changed and it's reflecting here. JCDD AD. Just click yes. Now we are into the server. So we need to configure the static IP, right? So you need to go to the network settings. Either you can give ncpa.cpl. This is the one way to open a network settings, Ethernet settings, or else you can go to the control panel, network and Ethernet. View network adapters also will be there. There you can see. Okay, here change network adapters. Even that will lead to this page. Okay, so what the agenda would be like, we should able to get this page. So if you see properties of this network card, so currently we are using IPv4. even IPv6 is selected. That is the reason we are getting that IPv6 IP in that host. Let me show you. So if you see the VM, here 192.168.1.9 is the IPv4 address, and whatever the FE80 some data is showing is right. This is an IPv6 address. So currently we are not using any IPv6, so I don't want the IPv6 to be visible. So just uncheck that. And we want to configure a static IP with the DNS, right? So yeah, you just need to give the IP. So 192.168.1.9, and the subnet mask 255.255.255.0, and the gateway is 192.168.1.1. Here we haven't specified any DNS, but as it is an AD server, we need to specify a DNS. So let's give the same AD server IP as the DNS. This is very critical, guys. Like if we are deploying a AD server, this is a root domain controller, right? That's the reason we are configuring the same IP for this. Let us take this. It is an ADC server. That is the second server when you're deploying. We'll get the more clarity on that. ADC server, if you're deploying ADC server, you have to give the primary root to PDC as the preferred DNS, and additional DNS you have to give it as the ADC IP. Okay, so just click close. That's it. Now we'd like to add a AD role. So we gone through all the prerequisites, right? Yes, till point number 3 we done. And what you required a domain name. As we are using for the local network internet for testing purpose, I'm just using the domain name as a jcred.local. Yeah. So before that, you should have a name. Just we just write down the name. That's it. If you have the public domain related things, again you need to make sure that all the things to be captured properly. So here we'd like to add the roles. So let me show you how we can come to this server manager feature. Just click on the start menu. There you can see the server manager here, right? You just need to select this. By default, once you log in, automatically the server manager will be appear here. So it will load some data to the server manager. Okay, once it is loaded, it will be like that. If not, there is some slide will be moving from left to right here. As it is already loaded, it's not showing. So now we'd like to add a roles and features. Click on next. So here we would like to select the feature-based, role-based and feature-based installation. Just click on next. And the server IP on which you're going to deploy. It will display complete host name and IP as well as the OS version. Just click on next. So now we are going to deploy the Active Directory domain services, right? So I'm just selecting Active Directory domain services. By default, that role consists of the ADDS, ADLDS tools, ADDS tools called AD Administrative Center and ADDS Snap-in command line tools. Just click on Add and click on Next. Here, we're not selecting any DNS, but by default, what it does is it will also take the DNS roles. Okay. Make sure that you always check this box, restart the destination server automatically if required. So what it does, if a server required a restart in order to complete this role installation, that will take a restart. Just click on install. It's going to take a 1 or 2 minutes in order to complete this installation. This all these things. So here indirectly we have selected ADDS is a single, but at the back end this is picking all the GPO, remote server administrative tools, ADDS, LDS tools, ADDS administrative center, and ADDS snap-in command line tools. I'm just pausing this video. So once the installation is completed, guys, now the installation is succeed. So here you can see. So once the installation is completed, we just need to click on close. So till now, we can see here ADDS role that is displaying. Okay, even the same thing will be visible here. So now we need to promote. So far we have installed the role, but we haven't configured any domain, right? So now you just see on the flag, the notification flag, there you can see the installation is succeed. Now the post deployment configuration. It's nothing but we need to promote a domain controller. Okay, you just click on this promote this server to a domain controller. Now it will give you 3 options here. So what are these? So let's go in detail. Add a domain controller to an existing domain. So the first option would be like you already having a domain controller, domain network. In that network, if you are going to add this particular mission as an additional domain controller, then you have to select the first one. So we don't have any existing domain, so the first one will not suitable for us. Okay, the second one, add a new domain to a existing forest. But here we don't have any existing forest, right? So this is the primary domain and the root domain. That is what I am saying. So whenever you are stating the root domain is nothing but the first domain controller in the forest. Okay, PDC is the primary domain controller. What is the root domain controller? Root domain controller is the first domain which is configured on the forest. Okay, so now we need to select the third one. As this is a completely fresh, add a new forest. So here we have to specify the root domain name. So what is the root domain name? We already given, right? So here we already taken the domain name. We supposed to be configured it as the jcready.local. So here we need to specify jcready. Just click on next. What it does? Verification the forest name failed. The DNS name jcready proposed for this active domain consists a single label. DNS label should be unique and fully qualified. What does it mean? So here we haven't given the complete FQDN. We have given only jcready. What we supposed to give? We supposed to give dot local. Whether it is a dot local or a dot com, dot in, whatever it may be, that should have the complete domain. Okay, that's the reason. As we haven't given the complete name, that's the reason that's throwing an error. So now I would like to give the complete name jcready.local. Now click on next. Now it's validating. What it does, it will check for the domain level. Is there any name that is conflicting with this name, with this forest name? What is the domain that you're promoting? As this is of new, so obviously it's not going to conflict with any other. But the option 1 and 2, when you're selecting, if any conflict is there, that will be showing over there itself. Okay, so yeah, now the display like a forest level functional and a domain level function. So here, one thing you would like to know, so how do you select this forest level and domain level functional levels? So here you can see forest level functional level, we do have a couple of options: 2008, 2008 R2, 12, 2012 R2, 2016. So when it comes to the domain level, that is the default, the 2016 that is picking. So what if the case if I select the 2008 R2? So again, domain level will have an option. So let me give you a clarity on this. If you select the forest functional level as the 2016, the domain level can support beyond 2016. It's not below 2016. Okay. So if you have any older systems you would like to join into this domain that is running with the 2008 or R2, 12, 12 R2, it's always better to select the lower version. So let me take 2012 R2 as a preferable forest functional level. Now we get an option till 2012 R2, but we won't get 2012 here. Okay. So at any point of time, we can increase this level, but we can't decrease it. That's the reason it's always better to go with the lower version, whatever the system that you are servers that you are having. Not only the server, even the Windows 10, Windows 11, whatever the desktops, if you are having the older versions, if you want to support that, you can quickly go through that what forest level and the domain functional level can support which OS versions, you can get it. Okay, hope it is clear, right? Yeah. Now the specified domain control capabilities. Here, what the domain controllers can do. This is it is giving three options here. One is the DNS, nothing but the domain name system. So it can give the resolution to the client members which are coming for the DNS resolutions. Yes. And the second one is the global catalog. So why it is graded out? Why? Because the global catalog is a default option that would be required for a server. It's a multi-master role. That's the reason by default if you configure an AD, whether you can have an option to choose the DNS role would be required or not, but you can't deselect the global catalog. And it's not an RODC that we're going to promote it. So we'll discuss in detail where we require an RODC in the future videos. Okay. So now it's prompting for a type a directory restore more DSRM password. So guys, when you are keeping some DSRM password, don't keep it randomly. It should be like have the complexity. So if someone knows your DSRM password, they can crack your Active Directory. So always better to keep a strong password and keep it safely. Whenever there is an issue, this is the only password. With this we can restore the directory services. So you should be very careful while giving this password, and even you should have a proper password vault in order to save these passwords. Okay, I should not share it with everyone. There should be limited persons who can capable enough to do the troubleshooting in terms of if AD is completely down. Using this DSRM we can restore that. Just click on next. So here you would like to create a DNS delegation, the parent zone. So you simply just skip this. So no need to think about it much. So obviously this is the first domain controller that will be displaying. Yeah. So verify the NetBIOS name assigned to the domain and change it if necessary. So now we already given the jcd.local as the name, right? So here NetBIOS name won't show the extension. What is the domain name that we'd like to give it to Active Directory? Is the jcd.local. At the time of initial, we have specified jcd.local, but so once the configuration is there, the NetBIOS name won't show that extension .local. Okay, don't be get confused here, but the .local will be there. It won't be displayed here. Okay, just click on next. And where the ADDS files to be stored, where you this is the default path. The database folder usually obviously consists in the Windows NTDS folder, and log file will be also there in the NTDS folder, and sysvol consists of all the AD level policies and the replicated objects. So you just keep it like that as a default. So don't require much changes. So now it will give you the review, the complete review of what we have done so far. So let's go through the point by point. So configure the Active Directory first domain controller in the forest. The first one we have selected, and that the domain we have specified is the jcd.local. This is also a new of the forest. Yes, obviously this is the PDC, and the root domain controller. This is the new, and the NetBIOS name would be a jcready. And the forest functional level is the 2012R2. Domain functional level is also 2012R2. And global catalog, yes, it's required. DNS, yes. Create a DNS delegation. It's not required at this point of time. And database log files is all. DNS service will be configured on this server. Yes, obviously defaults will be there. Just click on next. So it's going to take a couple of minutes. Suppose that the server will be restarting. So once restart is done, then I can able to log into server using your domain logins. Okay, just click on install. All prerequisites have been passed successfully. Just click on install. The installation is started now. So I'll be pausing this video. So it's going to take 1 or 2 minutes time. I'll be resuming it once it is done. Yeah, guys, here you can see now it's creating a partition of the Active Directory. It will create all default OUs and users, DNS, all these things will be configured. You can see the progress here, what it is doing actually at the backend. Okay. So yeah, now you can see now successfully configured. Now it's asking for us to restart. So we can restart this server. Let's take a restart. Yeah, it's automatically restarted the machine. Now the server been restarted successfully. Here you can see. Now let's connect to the domain. Now let's using the domain credentials. So what are the domain credentials we supposed to use now? So the jcready.local is the domain, right? And the domain, what is the user? Is the administrator we can use. And the password would be the DSRM password. Whatever you have specified, you can use that. So now, oops, one moment. Local administrator and give the password. Yes. Now you can see, now we are accessing the server within the domain credentials. So this is our host name and this is our domain name. Just click on S, and you can also see the please wait for the group policy client. So what does it does? So this is the first time that we are accessing using a domain logins, right? That will try to fetch the policies from the AD. Obviously the AD server will also have some set of user policies, right? The first time login, that will check for is there any policies that could be applying related to the user that will be applied here. So the first login obviously will take 1 or 2 minutes of time. So you should have the patience. Yeah, now we successfully access the server using the domain logins. So let me show you. So who am I? So here you can see JCRED is the domain and administrator is the account that we connected. Okay. So, let me show you. So now we can see tsa.msc. So this will give you the Active Directory console, Active Directory users and computers. Okay. This is our domain name. And by default, all these parameters will be there. So we have the only one domain controller. So there is no other computer members who are joined here. So we successfully configured the domain controller, guys. So yeah, we'll create a couple of workstations. We'll join into a domain and we'll test some group policies and hardening parameters, how we can set using Active Directory, how we can control the member servers, how we can restrict, and how we can append the policies from the domain level. Thanks for watching. Hope you like my videos. Please do subscribe and share.